Let the music soothe you as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, that's it. I need Walt Clyde. Smooth
Yeah.
smooth lingo.
Lil Ewing. Time to rock. Oh, I miss John Starks is what I miss.
Yeah. I wish he was on the show with us, but he's not. It's just you and me for PGA Live Before Lock, the Memorial. We have got a lot to talk about, chat. I hope you guys are excited because it is Wednesday night and we are ready to go talk some golf. This is Awesemo.com, as you guys all know. We're going to break down this tournament from every single angle, whether it's DFS, whether it's betting, lineup construction, answer your questions, talk about some ownership. Let's bring in my partner in crime here, Eric Lindquist. Hello, sir. How are you this evening?
Doing well. We're both sweating some NBA action here in the middle of everything. It's going to be, we got to stay focused for like 58 minutes and then it's NBA for the rest of the time. But I mean, we're going to be building golf lineups all through the night. I love the Memorial. One of my favorite tournaments to watch. I mean, you think of all the Tiger holeouts, the ridiculousness that he's put on, and just shows that he's put on there. We got two Memorials last year, basically back-to-back weeks in Ohio with COVID, and Morikawa. If Morikawa and Jordan Spieth could get in a playoff again this week, I'd be just fine with that. Or Justin Thomas, sorry, him.
Yeah, Justin Thomas. Yeah. I could get down with that. We're going to talk about all that, and it's interesting. That is one of the points right off the top that I want to get to, is that we did get double Memorial, and it was weird. Rahm, I backed him at workday, and then I was smart enough to hold on, and it was such a fluky thing because one was easy, one was hard. We are going to get into that, but let's start how we always do, with the waves, with the weather, with the withdraws, which aren't an issue yet, but they might be. So we got a 121-man field, another invitational. It's been raining a little, but for me, I'm happy to report, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't see a ton of major weather concerns.
I don't. They were talking about wind possibly early on the Thursday and into the afternoon, but it doesn't look like it now as we're getting closer. We're in that like 12-hour window where you can kind of trust it, what's going to be going on in that Thursday morning. I feel pretty good that there's not going to be a huge weather draw one way or the other. Do you feel the same?
No, I'm with you. I mean, again, I don't see a major need to stack up. If you're building enough teams, I always like to stack a couple, just because why not? Crazy stuff can happen on the fly, but I think we're in the clear here. The big news, though, he hasn't withdrawn, but Rory did withdraw from the Pro-Am. He also, I guess you'd call it a withdraw from his presser. I haven't seen much. I've seen personal reasons floating around. What is the latest that you have heard on the Rory situation?
Yeah, I haven't heard a whole lot. I mean, it's as simple as that. You try to dig and make sure you wake up. If you're out here on the West Coast like me, it's going to be an early morning. Have your coffee, get ready to rock, because this is not something that you want to be taking lightly. Because I think if people are setting and forgetting, maybe they have no Rory in their lineups as is, and they're not too worried about it. But I think if that ownership were to come down whatsoever, just by people feeling like it's risky, I'm happy to go over the field there.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. What if we don't hear anything? Are you comfortable playing him, knowing that there are going to be some people who move off Rory just because they don't want to deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many different situations like this over the course of the last couple of years. Not just Dustin Johnson at Augusta, or Tony Finau at Augusta is really the one that made the most money for me. So I remember Tony Finau dislocates his ankle in the par 3 contest. Everybody freaks out. I believe he was like 3 or 4%. I was playing like the $3 or whatever, maxing out like the 20 max stuff or whatever. And I just played 100% Finau, and he ended up, I think, top 3ing or tying for third in that tournament. He played phenomenally well, even with dislocated ankles. So it'd be something similar to that, like for me this time around, where if you see the ownership drop, if it becomes something that people are falling off of it, or it starts to gain traction. But right now, I don't think that people are factoring in it enough for me to really warrant making a move there yet.
Fair enough. And listen, we'll see what breaks. Stay aware. Obviously, there will be updates. But other than that, I think we are good to go. So you know what? It's going to be a good one. I love Memorial, and I want to talk about Muirfield Village. We're going to do that in a second. But before I do, I want to say, as I do every week, thanks to Monkey Knife Fight, who are sticking with us. They are sponsoring the show tonight. You guys haven't been over there, player prop based contest, which is growing in popularity. A lot of people love these props. This is one of the best ways to play with it. Different feel of DFS. You can play NBA, you could play UFC, PGA, esports, NFL soon enough, soccer with the Euro coming up. Everything is over there. Go get started, monkeyknifefight.com. You choose your game, your buy-in level, your stakes, all the easy stuff. And they have a big-time deposit bonus. Deposit bonus up to $100 when you sign up with the promo code Awesemo. New users can also take advantage of some free games. They've been running them every day. The one today was with the Knicks. That game has started, but be on the lookout for those. They are running it. You can get some extra money added to your account right off the top. So thanks to Monkey Knife Fight for doing that. Definitely an exciting place to check out. Muirfield Village, also very exciting. Cool place, Jack's place. It's a regular tour stop, so it's not colonial, but do you like when we see a course often like this? You kind of know your way around it in some regard.
Yeah, I think it makes it really fun to be watching on Sunday too, when you kind of know what to expect. You know that you're going to get the par 3 with water left. You're going to get coming down the stretch. You're going to have 18 dogleg right up the hill. Making sure you know where those pin locations kind of set up and the way things break. It makes it really entertaining to be watching, and not necessarily something I'm going crazy about to factor in. But I've had a tough time trying to pin down course history and what I want to do and what matters to me and what doesn't, because we saw a Jekyll and Hyde type setup between the two. It was almost like, oh, they got after it at Muirfield Village the first time around. Cool. And then they just kind of sent in the National Guard and just murdered everybody. It was pretty brutal the second time around. I like the look I got from Jordan Klein. He's a live alert await enthusiastic. I'm ready to go. So happy to see you. Yeah, there it is for you.
The rough being up that second week, there was some weather. I remember that week vividly.
Right.
Tony Finau, bad things on Sunday.
It was the only sport on TV too, which made it more. It was a little more focused than normal as well.
I was at Saratoga. I was losing. That's actually fake news, because I was losing copious amounts in the bubble to the Milwaukee Bucks against the Heat, and now we see what the actual results would have been. But that's neither here nor there. The question I want to ask you though is this course has been overhauled. It's not completely different, but they have been vocal that they've redesigned a lot. The greens have some different slopes. So what do you do with course history? Do you omit it? Do you look at it and maybe weigh it a little less? Or do you say, you know what, it's still the same course at the end of the day?
Yeah, the lines are the same, but the ball strikers are still going to be the ball strikers. And we want to be trending towards guys. Muirfield Village, the way that the rough generally plays here, I mean, you need to be pretty good around the greens. You need to be getting up and down and saving fours. It's not a 15, 20 under type week. It can play very difficult at times. And I'm trying to factor in a little bit more short game than I normally would, but iron play. That's kind of the rule of the day for me out here.
Yeah, one of the other things to note, these bunkers are very dangerous, very difficult to get out of. So it's one of those things. Generous fairways, got to be crisp with your irons. If you make a mistake, you got to be able to get out of these and try to make an up and down. Limit the damage, just like most of the tough tests. It is a par 72. You'll have more opportunities to take advantage of that. So I think scoring won't be impossible like it was, in the second half. I'm not going to say it's going to be the work day either. They tore that course apart. I don't think we see that. So is there anything else on just looking at Muirfield Village that you want to talk about, or do you think it is somewhat straightforward considering we see this tournament each and every year?
Yeah, so I mean, the hard card, I've seen some different yardages popping around, but 75-43, it's decently long, but it seems like there's all types of players. You've seen Matt Kuchar play well here in the past. You've seen, everybody from, Morikawa and Thomas, elite ball strikers. It can be a little bit of everything, but targeting all around players, recent form, I'm going to be labeling pretty high up here too, because, you just need to be making some pars with some of these pins and some of the difficult positions you can get, and the greens will be quick. And so certain guys that have been great in terms of putting, I'm factoring in it a little bit more, because I think there might be a little bit more emphasis on getting the ball in the hole this week. Not that is crazy news.
No, really fast greens is a good point. And it's true. You look at these winners, and I'm going back a little, but William McGirt, Jason Duffner has won here. There are guys, Ricky's been very close. Kyle Stanley, who we will certainly get to, don't worry.
Oh, God.
A lot to talk about on that front. So you know what? Let's dive into it. Let's dive into these top end options and see what we can find. So Jordan Spieth once again has held down the top price. I guess he's deserving. He's playing well. I don't really see it, I'll be honest. But we've got Rahm, we've got Bryson, we've got Rory pending he's playing, Morikawa and JT. 6 options. Where do you initially look up top?
Justin Thomas has to do it, right? Like, we're going to be going to him in the 10K range up top. And Oh God. If he plays poorly for the whatever time in a row, it's gonna be bloodbath for me. And I'm okay with that because I'm invested at this point. I don't know how to get even on him over the course of the last month. Since Scott, I mean, I felt like it was a can't miss on him at TPC Sawgrass, which is so strange because now you're looking at it and this is kind of the form that he's had other than that one tournament for the most part. It's been a brutal year by Justin Thomas's standards. So I'm hoping to get even on him here this week. He has played well at this golf course. It suits his game to a T. Fast greens, phenomenal iron player, checks every box for me up there. Morikawa has to go in that same bucket as well. A phenomenal iron player. We know he's as elite as it gets. I think I'm just going to be playing all the best iron players in the world this week and seeing what happens because it seems like they're all decent enough with the putter, or in the event of a guy like Louis, who we will also get to, just putting the lights out of it. So checks every box for me, JT, Colin Morikawa. If you want to go to Spieth, 11-3, like maybe getting up there now where the ownership won't be there meaningfully. People have been playing much more balanced lineups. This might be the spot to get a little bit of an investment. I've been going back and forth, but as I said, I mean, I have 1% right now on DraftKings. So Jason Roslin hates me again this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the one benefit with Spieth is that he's not going to be popular because it's just a weird build with him. Now there's going to be plenty of salary savings, but I don't think people are going to pay up for him. JT, it's an interesting situation because the game is not, I don't think it's in that bad of shape, but the stats are all over the place. He couldn't putt a couple times in a row. If he fixes the putter, he's going to be fine. Then he started to fix the putter, and now his irons by his standards are off. He's one of the world's best iron players. Last two events, 0 and 0.3 strokes gained on the approach. So that's really atypical. Around the green is just solid. Off the tee is, a little hit and miss, but I just don't know if it's one of these things he's kind of searching, and when it all comes together, watch out, or if he's actually struggling. I think it's more the former. I think he is searching a little bit, but it's right there. I'm certainly going to go to him at 10-2. I like that price. I like Rahm, defending champ. Just does everything that I want. I think it's overblown. He's another one. Just because he hasn't won, I don't think it's a huge deal. He's playing well and very consistent. The guy I want to ask you about is Bryson, who I want to point out, you look at his course history, it's like, oh, he missed the cut. He was well inside the cut line, and he made a 10 on Friday, and that took him completely out. I believe it was on a par 5, but when you make a 10, you can't really make the cut. What do you make of him? Long rough? Maybe he just powers through as he did at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, winner here in 2018. So there's not we can't just beat the course history out of him here. I mean, I believe that's correct. 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there's at least some pedigree. It's Bryson. You know that as long as he's getting that ball in play, I mean, he's going to be bombing it. He's going to have clubs in there. Nobody else does. His wedge is always hit and miss. We're trying to get that to tighten up a little bit for him. I'm concerned. The major thing for me is that he's been routinely one of the best putters on the planet, and that's kind of probably maybe the most underutilized or under talked about part of his golf game. He's lost strokes putting the last two events here. So I'm looking at it, minus 4.1 at the Byron Nelson, minus 1.1 at the PGA, 55th and 38th, and was just kind of doing his thing. Tee to green there, 4.5 gained at the Byron, 6.1 at the PGA. So it's a little bit smaller greens, but if he's hitting the ball this well, I got to think that he's going to get back to some of that putting we saw at the Wells Fargo, the Players, the Arnold Palmer. Aubrey was positive putting and well within the top 10 of those. So I do like to getting to a little bit of Bryson this week.
Yeah, I mean, Bryson's mega upside of any tournament that Bryson's in, if there was a question of who's most likely to win by 5 strokes, to me, it's always Bryson, because when he gets going, and there's something about him, and this is an interesting thing. I want to dig more into this when I have a little time. Something I've talked about on several shows, and Bryson's one of the biggest candidates for this. He's a volatile putter. And what I mean by that is he loses 4 or 5 strokes on the greens pretty frequently for a world-class player, but he also gains 5+ strokes on the greens more than others. And there's a lot of guys that are around even, and it's +1, -1. He's +5, -5. So when you get it right, you really get paid off. And when you get it wrong, you really get punished. That's a good thing for volatility in terms of tournaments. So
strokes gained self-talk. How about that? Bryson, just a up and down demeanor as it is. He runs hot, he runs cold. So I mean, that would make a lot of sense to look at something like that.
So I don't mind going there. Certainly not my preferred target, but you're going to be fine if you go to most, it's the best players in the world. What's there to say? And ownership is pretty flat. You're going best available there. Where you're not going best available, and you're going to certainly have to factor in ownership, is the next range or leveraged value, because Victor Hovland, no surprise, is garnering a ton of interest at 9,900. You could easily start with him. Xander, Cantlay, Decky, Connors, Finau, and Reed, all of these guys look to be somewhat popular north of 10%. I think Reed will hover right around 10%. So what do you look at this next tier of the 9K range?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like this entire range, there's a reason that people are starting their builds here. It's because you're getting the discount. And we see so many times where if that one guy, especially, I guess I'm less concerned because the field is a little bit more condensed this week. You're going to get guys through the cut. If one of those top end guys can kind of separate themselves, maybe you can go that direction. But that upper nines, that's a difficult spot for me to, oh my God, did you just go Katy Perry in the chat, Jordan Klein? Is that what we just had? Okay. That's unprofessional. We're going to continue.
Do I have to bring up chat? Oh, okay. Here we go.
It's embarrassing.
I know Katy Perry a little bit. That's not my pop culture reference that I would have went with, but that's all right.
Unbelievable. We have a professional show that we're trying to run here, but either way, I'll say what you say. That's neither here nor there. What we're going for is breaking down Xander Schauffele, who I love playing when he's not going to be 40% owned like he's been however many times in the past. And I think you're kind of in that same boat. Strokes gained total over the course of the last 50 rounds, second amongst the field. That's something I'm interested in. All around game, just straight through strokes game, short game, fourth in the field, picking up one per round over the course of the last 50, just kind of doing a little bit of everything. I think where it gets really kind of messy for me is talking about Cantlay, because Hovland and Schauffele, those strokes game total, they're just all around doing everything well. We've seen the putting fall off for Cantlay at times here. It's been hit and miss. He did show some form a little bit here at the PGA, finally got there after 4 missed cuts. But how much do you buy into that? And how are you really handling him this week?
Yeah, he's a tough one. He was phenomenal. Tee to green, absolutely fantastic at the PGA out of nowhere. That was a winning performance. Tee to green, he just couldn't putt, couldn't chip. So it's encouraging. I get it. I think he's going to be. People are quick to jump. It's like Finau. The ownership always sticks to them. Certainly, Xander is a guy that I think we all know by now. I cannot get him right, but I am sticking with him. I liked him at the PGA, missed the cut on the number, and I actually was really encouraged by what he said, because everybody says the same thing about every course, and it pisses me off that they love the course. He was just like, that was not the course for me. Didn't like the course. Good for you. I like that. I don't worry about the game. Long-term, Xander's going to be just fine, and he was very good here last year. You look at the result and you say, okay, he came in 13th. He gained 12.7 strokes tee to green, and he lost 5 with the putter. He easily could be the defending champ.
12.7 is a ridiculous number. And yeah, the -5 on the putting around the green was also positive there, 1.2. As we said, it's Xander, all around game, checks all the boxes there. He had one bad result where he was bad around the green at the PGA. This is kind of a different animal altogether. I'm happy to buy in.
Yeah, Xander's the guy that I'm going to stick with. I try to pick my spots with him, and it usually doesn't work. I'm going to kind of macro buy here at 97.
Macro buy.
I think that's honestly a technique that sometimes is underutilized. When we work to the bottom of the range, though, this is where if you're looking to get some value and steal some ownership, Scottie Scheffler is going to be the lowest owned. Reed probably second. I like Reed. I don't find myself really on Scheffler, but how about you with those two guys?
I'm fighting myself on Reed because every time Faldo brings up his golf swing, he is so flat at the top. And maybe this isn't something that is data driven for you to be looking at.
I don't even know what that means. So.
Okay. So basically what he's doing is he's laying off the club at the top of his swing. He finishes really, really high going back. And I think, I don't know, he's just starting to hit a lot looser shots than I'm used to seeing. So another thing that I wish that I could, talking about something you want to model with Bryson, something I want to model is when guys hit one or two really, really offline bad shots in the course of a round of golf. And with him, it seems to be something with his long irons when I've been watching him the last couple of weeks, because I have been invested in him, in a number of different ways, DFS and in the markets. But Patrick Reed, I kind of want to see him get. It's just not something where I'm trusting it to be consistent here. We saw the 17th at the PGA and 6th at the Wells Fargo, and the strokes gained total. I mean, tee to green, third, 5.6 there, but off the tee at the PGA, he was just kind of abysmal. And so when you get with those longer clubs, the driver, the 4-iron, when you're hitting some of those longer shots on a longer course like this, it can magnify your misses a little bit more. We know the kind of pedigree that he can have with a putter, 6.7 strokes gained putting at the Wells Fargo. That's a large number. 2.4 at the PGA, and basically was flat when he missed the cut there at the Charles Schwab. But, you can write that off. I'm not worried about him, but I think just because of the level of this field and everything else, I think I probably want to go elsewhere. Do you have kind of a lean with him?
I like going to Reed just because it's a tough one, because when you look at the data, he's someone you kind of have to force yourself into if you want to play him, because his ball striking is just not as good as everybody else up there. But he's an immaculate, he's one of the best around the green players in the world. He's a grinder. He's a good putter, and he's someone that flips the switch. So I'm just going to start rattling him off here. His last couple, all right, his last 3 missed cuts, the next result, win at the Farmers off a miscut, 22nd at the Players off a miscut, and 6th at the Wells Fargo off a miscut. He tends to just miss a cut and rebound pretty quickly. It's not someone that has a string of missed cuts. And he does have a win off a miscut earlier this year at the Farmers. So it's a guy that I can kind of just back, not blindly, but I'm comfortable going to Reed, even though his form lately has not looked great.
Yeah, I kind of got lost there for a second, but my thing didn't pull up on the tab. But continue on here. I'm gonna try to get this to pop back up. My computer shut down with too many tabs. That's so embarrassing, especially when I see a friend that ends up in my chat. Hey, what's up, Ethan? My dude, how you doing?
Well, I will we'll carry on. It's fine. It's the end of the 9K range. The only thing I wanted to ask you was a philosophical question, and it's really the elephant in the room this week is that the pricing is. It's not messed up, but we have guys at the low 6s that you really can play. So it's going to stretch salaries a little different than we're normally seeing. You're going to have a lot of people, and we're going to get there, that are going to click in 1 or even 2 guys sub 65. And when you do that, you're going to have ability to play 2 guys north of 10K, maybe like 4 9K guys in some lineups, just really awkward builds. So that's something I want to kind of stick with as a theme of this show each time we talk about players, because the truth of the matter is what you do with Kyle Stanley and Russell Knox this week really defines your player pool.
Yeah, because they're 6,100 and they shouldn't be. And
no,
I think that we can probably at that point just say that that's wrong. But I don't know. I keep going back and forth on what their ownership, like if you had to put an over under of 25% on each of them right now, because again, it's so hard to really understand what the field is going to be doing in some of these large field events in this kind of a pool. Over under 25% for both of them.
Combined or separately?
So let's say Kyle Stanley is going to be higher owned between the two, I would assume, right? So Kyle Stanley is going to be 25%. Russell Knox, let's go 10%.
So I would take the under on both. I would say that Kyle, just because you don't see guys that low, garner, like 15% at 6,100 is like the equivalent of 30% in the mid range. Like you just never see chalk mass to that level. I'd say that Kyle Stanley could push upwards of 15 to 20% this week. I think Knox will be 5%, not substantially owned, just because, I don't think people are dying to go down there. And I think a lot of casuals aren't even going to notice that they're down there.
And I'm going to go way overweight is kind of what we just decided, because I think that it allows you to have access to players that have so much win equity that can really separate you in the top end. Maybe if Spieth isn't your guy, he's not our guy. But if you want to get to more Rahm, who that would be fantastic. I'm not getting to enough of him at 11-1 because of how much of that upper 9K I have. It just gives me access to different builds, and if the ownership isn't going to be there in a meaningful way, as you said, like there's an opportunity cost. Just if you're somebody who's trying to target the top 5 in any like large field GPP, like. You're basically saying like this guy at 6,100 because of the access to another elite, like top 5 player in the world that he gives me. I think I just need to go overweight in that spot.
The other thing about this, as we kind of go to our make the cut segment that I want to mention, they really benefit that this is an invitational, because the appeal of going away from that is that it's golf and these guys are coin flips to make the cut. but they're a little better than that because there's 35 golfers who are not in this field because it's only 120. So it's a lot easier for them to make the cut. And if you make the cut at 6,100, it's almost impossible to really be a negative. It may not be a positive, but it's really not going to kill you. So that's something to keep in mind. But all right, here we go, chat. And before I do that, we got a lot of good people in here. We got my good friend Carl, we got Tim, we got Greg, Mike Campbell, a lot of regulars. John, if you guys can hit the like button, I know most of you do, but we got a lot of new people watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of content, betting content. My contenders video is out. Eric's been doing a sick article, by the way, your prop article. Love that for the NBA. The report each night. You can find a lot of value there. There's a lot of things over at Awesemo that you guys might not be aware of. And that's why I want you to hit that like button and subscribe so you get the latest information. But you know the drill. We're going to make the cut. 3 players. You tell me what you think. We're starting in the upper 8s with Neiman, with Fitzy, and with your boy, even though he's really my boy, Louis Oosthuizen.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cameron Smith because he's wedged in the middle and you just missed him.
No.
I was going to say, no to Cameron Smith, the luck box putter of the world. My God, can't even stand it. Can we just say Louis Oosthuizen, my guy? He is absolutely my guy. I wanted to come in here just blazing. I wanted to do the 100% Griot take that you had last week. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to steal any of your thunder or any of Jason's thunder. I'm just trying to fit in. Give me 50% of Louis in tournaments. He will be my highest owned golfer this week. I'm absolutely in love with him from a betting perspective, but just look at how good this guy has been over the course of the last even 6 tournaments. I mean, going back to the WGC, we can write off the team event, but still that's a second. Valspar, 8.7 strokes gained total, 2.9 tee to green. The putter has been outrageous. Maybe the best putter in the world over the course of the last 2 months. I want all the Louis on this golf course, gaining strokes around the green, 5 at the PGA. I had a huge sweat going on there between him and Phil. I was probably the only person cheering against Phil on planet Earth on Sunday. That was sad times, but still was able to hedge a little bit, not enough, but a little bit to make a profit on that week. What are you doing with Louis?
So I am a little surprised that Louis is getting as much interest. I'm definitely going to play some Louis, but I'm of the school that the best time to play Usti is when no one wants to play him because he randomly shows up. Now he's been playing a very consistent golf, and it's been because of the short game. As you mentioned, he's been immaculate putter, scrambling, and he's always had good irons. So I'm comfortable going to him, but at that ownership pushing 20% plus, you do need a lot. And I think there are very reasonable pivots. Neiman is a guy, pending he survives around the green. He's got the longest made cut streak on tour. Fitzy, I have no problem with. And then one guy right below, I know he's not on this list, but Shane Lowry is playing really good golf. Are you going there as well?
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised how good he's been in a lot of ways, other than the Wells Fargo where, finished 65th. I mean, the Masters, this run he's had since the Players has been something else out of him. I mean, it's 7.5 tee to green, strokes gained tee to green there at the Players. We're seeing 11.1 at the PGA, just striping the golf ball right now. Had he lost strokes putting and finished top 5 at the PGA, that's kind of tough to do when you think about it, because generally what happens at majors is it becomes a little bit of a putting contest. You have to hit the ball well, and you see those guys get up there, but it's almost a given that you have to hit the ball well. But it's very rare to see minus 1.1 strokes gained putting out of a dude and a 4th place finish.
No, I mean, listen, Shane Lowry, if you think it's going to play difficult, that's a boost to him. He's won at Bridgestone, and I think Bridgestone is a decent comp course. We'll talk about that with Keegan as well. He's built for these type of events. He's built to be really, really in for a test of golf where you don't need to shoot 25 under. That's not Shane Lowry. He is more suited for an Open Championship, and that's why he's a Open Championship winner. Moving down, because the 8K range is kind of interesting. You've got some big names there, and then you've got this little group at the lower 8s. You've got Sanjay off a miscut, a bad miscut too. He was one of the few guys that missed last week. You've got Keegan, who's playing out of his mind, but man, on lightning fast greens, that is scary. And then we have to talk about him. And chat, I want to hear your takes. You guys bring this up every week anyway. What to do with our good friend Ricky Fowler, who gained 4.5 strokes at the PGA putting. It was the first time he has done that in a very long time. And you see the 8th place finish that came with it.
And he wasn't even good off the tee that week.
No,
so it's like, what is happening? 100% putter, lost 2 strokes off the tee in the event. And and just found the putter. And that's what we've been begging for. That's what we've been asking for. Other than the Genesis where he had 5.3 strokes gained putting, it's been so bad. And I think you've said this on multiple shows together. At the height of his powers, he was making everything. And if we can get back to any kind of that trend, 8K, he's overpriced for what he is, for who he is at this point in time. Like there's no question, there's no argument you can really say that says that he should be 8K at this point, other than one finish. That's the only thing you could point to. I'm worried that he's already gaining even like 5% ownership. That seems like a little much. I would rather buy it if you were 1 or 2. Maybe I go elsewhere, but can you convince me to try to take a shot on him?
I mean, I think it's one of those things that you just have to tell yourself there's really 2 scenarios here. One, Ricky's found something with the putter. And then if that's the case, where do you think, if he putts like he did, how good do you think he'd be? Where do you think he should be priced? 2, it could be an outlier. And if you play him, you're probably chasing. And what do you think the chances are that you can survive if he loses 3 strokes putting? The one thing I'll say is that if you do believe that he's found something, if you wait and he plays well here, you missed it, because he will be priced up. He will be very popular, coming off an 8th place finish at the PGA and a good showing at Memorial. So you have to keep that in mind. Are you willing to try to infer that Ricky's found something? I'm more in that camp, because I do think that Ricky is just a putting performance away, and that confirmed at the PGA. I didn't think it would be there, but look what happened. That's an 8th place finish for Ricky at a PGA. So am I going crazy? Absolutely not. But I think you can blindly back him and hope that he's found something. He switched putters again. He went back to the old putter, and that seemed to make a difference.
Yeah, no, this is actually a win for me, because now if he plays well, I'm going to be happy. If he doesn't, I can yell at you. So
that's fine. You got a life.
I'm stoked about the result of this conversation.
Those are the best kind.
Perfect.
It's just tough. You have to know what you're in for with Ricky. And I think really, if you could nail when he was going to putt well at the PGA, well, you'd be a genius. I had no idea that he was going to flip it there. And maybe that's an outlier long-term. That's what we're going to try to figure out this week, because that's what he's been missing. But moving down to the high 7K range, we've got Mark Leishman, tournament pivot potentially. Christian Bez, who is an anomaly, but one of the best short game players in the world. And then we've got Griot, who I did lock last week. A little shaky to start, but you know what? Cashed my top 10 ticket. Great performance by him, and he's basically the same price. So do you want to keep it rolling with Emiliano this week?
Yeah, my second highest owned golfer this week. They're going 1-2. I think they're basically both around 50%. I'm taking massive overweight stances. I feel really good about the tournament this week, and these are the 2 reasons why. I think they're just rocks of your lineup. You get 8,500, 7,700, and you can kind of mix and match the way you want to. If you want to go to that 6,100 range and then pop a couple guys on above 10K, like that's an easy kind of path to do it. But if I have Griot play poorly, and if I have Louis play poorly, I'm not going to do well this week. And I'm fine with that, because their recent form, their ball striking, I just find it very difficult that they won't burn you. And I guess we do have to say the bugaboo is the putter. And if Keegan Bradley, if we're going to have concerns over him, we can't just omit Emiliano Griot. But there is reason for positive, like he just seems like it's getting better. We had 3.6 at the Charles Schwab, 1.3 at the PGA, 3.4 strokes gained putting at the Wells Fargo. I don't know. When's the last time you saw him have 3 tournaments in a row with strokes gained putting? Because I'm scrolling and it goes back to 2018. So it's been a while.
I mean, you just nailed it. You summed it up. This is not typical Griot. We've said for years what would happen. Listen, I mean, it's easy to say this now, but I also did say it on the show last week. We said for years, what would Griot be like if he could putt? And now he's finally putting, and he's the same price as when we used to play, or I used to play him when he couldn't putt. So I am absolutely going right back. I am not locking him. This is not like last week. That was a very specific set of circumstances for me, but I'm certainly going to be overweight. He's gained 6 strokes or more with the irons in 4 of 5 tournaments. That's stupid. Morikawa-esque levels. And he's gained putting in 4 of 5. You do that, Griot's going to be just fine for a long time. So no problem with him. But I have to ask you about Mark Leishman. Do you have any interest in him? Bubba is there, Adam Scott, Jason Day, low-owned guys as potential flyers, or are you staying away from these risky propositions?
Yeah, and some of the 150 max stuff, I might try to take a shot or 2 on Leishman, but It's not. I've been a Mark Leishman guy forever. He can randomly talk about the opposite. I remember a tournament in Chicago where I had a ton of him, and he shot like 20 something under and went completely nuts. He hits that little baby cut. This is a perfect type golf course, Jack Nicklaus golf course. Hits the cut, decent enough short game. Like I would generally want to be invested in Leishman, but the around the green just hasn't been as good. Putter's unbelievable though. He's always been a pretty darn good putter. I believe he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his last 8 tournaments where he's been pretty strongly positive with the putter. So that's something where if you can just, see a little bit of that tee to green get better, because it's just been so bad in some of these missed cuts. Arnold Palmer lost 6.3 off the tee. PGA and Byron Nelson struggled a little bit too. And then strokes gained approach, he's a decent enough iron player. We just need to get him there. So I could take some shots on him, but not anything that's going to be meaningful for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's very risky to go to Leishman. You don't know what you're going to get, but I do think Leishman is the type of guy that he could win. Like Leishman is a guy, he's a winner. He's got win equity. It's just the off the tee game. It's very dangerous, as you mentioned, but these are generous fairways. So when you're talking about trying to beat 100,000 people, playing Leishman in the mid-range, particularly if you're going to be very obvious, I think is a way to do it. He's going to be around 5%. I like him over Day. I like him over Scott. I think Woodland's probably safer than all of them. But the other guy that was on this list was Bez, who obviously, talk about off the tee. I mean, he's as bad as anyone in this field. He's just terrible, but he gets it done with the putter each and every week.
I'm willing to take some shots on Day. I think I'm starting to come around to Jason Day here this week. I like Jason Day way more than I probably should. So I have a couple things going for him. One, he lives in Ohio. I still believe he lives in Ohio. So he's an Ohio guy now. Everybody knows he's Australian, married a girl, lives in Ohio. If everybody remembers when LeBron James ran into his wife and he got out of the way, that's how I know that he lives in Ohio for sure. But otherwise, going back to 2020, we talk about the course history, the difficult setup of the Memorial. He ended up gaining 12.6 strokes gained, 6.2 tee to green, and the putter, 6.5 strokes gained putting. Putted phenomenally well. He's always putted well at majors. He's putted well at Augusta. He's putted well on super fast, tricky greens. He's been very bad with the putter of late. If you look at the last 4, I mean, you have that one glaring example, minus 7.7 at the Players, which is just like, for Jason Day, those are just like, it's unbelievable to think that that's something you could even do. But then it's kind of been a little bit flat, 1.5, minus 1.4, minus 1.1 at the PGA. I think he could flip the putter here. And if he does, he's had the course history. The ownership isn't there. I'm happy to go over the field.
Everything we said about Ricky, I think, is applicable today. When Day was at the height of his powers, he was the best putter in the world. And now he can't putt. So he needs to flip it. Will it be this week? I have no idea. It's also worth pointing out his wife is very pregnant.
Saw that.
I have no idea what that, does that mean he has additional withdrawal equity? Probably, but who knows? You just have to incur that.
Withdraw equity anyway. He has a bad back, and it's Jason Day, and we know what we're getting into, but it's also a dude who finished 4th here last year, is from the area, and I want him.
I mean, listen, Jason Day, if you can flip the putter, that's what you're going to need to do. Now, for some reason at Memorial, he has struggled with the approach game. I don't know if that's just noise. Just something to keep in mind. He's still, even in this slump, an unbelievable chipper of the ball around the green game is absolutely fantastic. So you have that going for you. I think he comes into play if you're grouping teams. Like, I'd much rather play him with Reed, with Spieth, with Bez than I would like Neiman and Hovland and guys who can't chip.
So you've been talking about this quite a bit, and I think this is something I wanted to ask you about this week. So what are those kind of groupings that you really want to put players together? Because we have so many question marks about the course setup, about the grass, about how everything's going to be playing and how it might differ from previous years. Are there like 2 or 3 players that you can give people if they're making 1 or 2 lineups that they can really like say, this is kind of where I'm looking at. These are the types of players that I want to group in case the course plays XYZ.
Yeah, so I think when the course is unknown, it's better to do that because we don't know. Like,
right.
What happens if it's like workday? Well, if it's like workday, to me, Neiman and Hovland and those guys would get a huge bump up. What if it's like Memorial last year and it's brutal? Well, then Reed, Spieth, even Day to an extent, Ricky, like guys who are built, Shane Lowry, you want to sort it by difficulty and work backwards. What do you think the winning score is going to be? 6 under. Okay. Well, if it's 6 under, who's most likely to benefit from that and who's less likely? Then you kind of get a bucket of players. You see where the salaries fall and you build. That's how I approach it. It's not on every team, but I think when we have unknowns, that's a great way to do it. So keep that in mind when you are building this week.
The next level of sharpness. That's
I'm
working on it.
Or you can just put Griot in there like I did last week, just mega jam.
Top 10.
That's all we need. That's going to be all right. Working down lower sevens, different types of players here, but again, very interesting range. Russell Henley is there. Taylor Gooch is there. Brendan Todd is there, who again is one of those guys off the tee, is very weak with distance. Positive though because of his accuracy. What do you look at in the lower sevens? You like those guys or you like somebody else?
I've had a couple guys. So Gooch stands out for me. Like Gooch really is been in good form here. Pretty flat. Charles Schwab 14th looked pretty darn good there. He's just kind of consistent. He feels like a guy that's going to make you a cut. And at the Players 5th, he can get up and get in the mix. Genesis, kind of a longer, more drawn out course, a little bit more similar to this. 12th there this year, played pretty darn well. I think that's not the worst course fit ever going to Riv, but I like Taylor Gooch down on the bottom end. I think he makes a lot of sense. The Gim Reaper, not taking too many shots there. Russell Henley, I was really, really high on, considering I just thought people would be there more than what they were. I didn't see what his ownership switched to here. So I got to that's just going to be a play that I always like to get to more of. Seeing he's right now around, double rate at 10% or so. I'm over the field on that as is. So 7,200, we know the kind of upside he can have. I'm not super encouraged by everything that I've seen of late. The last 3 tournaments have been really, really brutal. But right before that, if we can get anything close to the 9th at RBC, the 3rd at the Honda, obviously different kind of golf courses. But I think that there is a spiked upside, and I'm happy to take some shots if he's just going to be around 10%.
Yeah, listen, he can get crazy hot with the approach game. One other thing, one of the many tools we have at Awesemo that we've been developing, and try to get some different things that are maybe more long-term. And we have an unofficial world golf rankings, kind of a fun tool. It's something that, a lot of people talk about the OWGR and how inaccurate it is. Well, we've run a model that kind of projects our own. And Russell Henley is one of the guys that seems to stand out, that maybe he's a little undervalued in general. And that's something that, again, on a week-to-week basis, you still have to factor in the course and the recent form, but it is good to take note of these things long-term. And I do think Russell Henley at times is undervalued out there. He needs to be a little crisper though. His around the green game has been absolutely horrendous. I'm with you. I am playing him. I like Taylor Gooch. I don't think I can do Brendan Todd though. I know he does it each and every week with the putter, but that's just too much pressure on the putting.
Yeah, 6th in the field right now in strokes gained putting over the course of the last 50 rounds. Charles Schwab did the same kind of crap that he's been doing. He got a top 10 via 6.5 strokes gained putting, just kind of outrageous. But yeah, if you use that unofficial world golf rankings, you can take out a lot of the noise that exists in both ownership, a lot of the noise that exists in trying to gauge in course history. Look at what the long-term futures are for some of these guys and just kind of investing in them. Not the worst idea. I really kind of enjoy some of the stuff. It's been sharp on a couple of guys through the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to kind of stick with trying to find 1 or 2 guys that just kind of look like they have great long-term prospects as players the field's undervaluing and taking advantage there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We did have a question from chat about CH3, who is in this range. I don't have him. I really have no interest. He's lost in 4 straight with the irons. He's terrible at Memorial. I get where you're coming from. It's just not for me. I'd rather play Lucas Grover if I had to.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm not enthusiastic. I think he probably makes the cut more likely than not if we're doing the, hey, does he make the cut question? But I think a lot of guys are going to be making the cut. You need to be a little bit more selective on this field, and not a guy that I really see a top 20 coming his way.
Yeah, listen, you can't play everyone, and it's not a range that, and Alan in chat brings up a good point. The low sevens are going to be kind of in a dead man because everyone is going to super punt as the closer you get to 6-1, the more appealing it is to just go there in some ways. So you want to keep that in mind when you are building. It's not a traditional week where people are rounding out their lineups right here. So keep that in mind. As we work down, we got a couple more. We'll talk about some of the deep dives, and certainly we're going to get more in depth with Stanley and Knox in a bit. But we've got the upper 6K range because I want to talk about these guys. We've got lists. We've got Troy Merritt, who Troy Merritt is just playing good. No one pays attention. And then Alex Noren, my favorite Swede in the field. What say you of these three?
Yeah, so one of my 3 outrights is Troy Merritt. I'm actually
Okay.
betting him. I think that he makes a lot of sense in a guy that I think if he can get himself in the spot, I mean, back-to-back 7ths and an 8th, so 3 top 10s in his last
Yeah.
4. That's getting it done. That is recent form. That's on different types of golf courses, different places. How can you not like Troy Merritt at 6,900 is my question. I'm kind of surprised. I thought there were a couple guys that I just expected for the field to really, really go over on here. I or at least like kind of make note of. I am shocked at Troy Merritt's ownership.
Yeah, I mean, I think people he's in one of these situations. People are starting to notice a little, but he hasn't broken through. He just keeps playing well. Like 7th, miscut 8th. If it was like 40th, and then 3rd, I think people would have noticed a little more. But 7th is just kind of flying under the radar. He's been solid. He needs to keep up the off the tee game, because if the rough is this thick, he could get destroyed. Someone just mentioned Patton Kazire. Patton Kazire is playing great. I get it. I don't see it for this course, though. I think his off the tee game could just get devoured here.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take that dip. I'm happy to make that dip. I mean, he's a guy that I've always been higher on. I love his golf game, and I think that there's a lot of upside any given week with him. Very, very calm demeanor. Very like some of these dudes that aren't like crazy high volatility. I feel pretty good about. He's just a play that I like, and sometimes you just got to play the guys you like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great putter, phenomenal putter, gains every week. I don't see it personally, though. The irons have been good too, so
it's hurtful. That's the first guy. I think he's like one of the few guys that we really like strongly disagree about.
I mean, for what it's worth, Patton Kazire is someone that I tend to come in underweight on, and as you've seen with his recent form, it's not like he can't do it. Patton Kazire's been showing that he can handle a lot of different type of courses. I picture him more at where he excels, OHL and things of that nature, than the Memorial. But we will see. I think he has a nice vacation with the family on the weekend, because it will be free.
Why would you do that? This is a family show. Why would you do that?
What about, all right, looking down here, let's get to this, and then we'll get to the rest of the deep dives. Let's just talk about Stanley and Russell Knox. They belong in their own category, because again, you never see guys at 6.1 that easily could be 7.1 and no one would say anything. So you've mentioned, if you think that and I think you're looking at 15-ish% for Stanley and maybe a third of that for Knox. If that is the case, you're willing to go over?
I'm willing to go over on Stanley, if only because we've seen 6,100. If you can get him to make the cut, well, first of all, obviously that's a big part, but 6,100 getting a top 25 gives you access to 2 golfers that you just wouldn't have any other access to. Like I can play lineups with, I'm not going to play Speed, but Rahm, I'm definitely going to play. I can combine Rahm with 2 guys in the 9Ks and kind of piece together my lineup from there. And I've talked about how heavy I am on both Louis and Griot. So if I'm going to combine a lot of my lineups, my way of getting different, if he's only going to be 15%, give me more of both of them there at 6,100, mixing and matching in a lot of large field tournaments, trying to spike one of the guys above 10K that can possibly win this golf tournament and seeing what happens.
I'm with you. I'm playing them. I'm not getting crazy. I'm going to be probably a little over the field, but the invitational part is what did it. I don't think the miscut equity, of course there's miscut equity, let's be clear, but it's not as drastic as it would be in a full field. If this was a full field, I would strongly consider building a little differently, because the appeal of getting these guys clipped, it deletes a lot of different types of builds. So I think you can go there. The only other question is, do you have any interest in pairing them up and making like a super, super aggressive 4-man team?
Maybe in like a, not a ton of doing that. Maybe I try it out. I haven't really toyed with it and, just been in Cruncher doing the PGA Pro plays that we put together. But for the most part, I think it's going to be more Stanley, a little bit of Knox, and not getting crazy elsewhere. Is there anybody else under 6,400 you would even take a shot on, though?
I think it's pretty unnecessary. I have a little Benny on just because he is the best around the green player. I think, on tour, he can't putt for anything, but I think it's kind of unnecessary to do that. I've seen Danny Lee's name a little bit. I get it, but to me, I don't have enough room. I'm playing Stanley and Knox on a lot of teams, so I don't need other punt plays.
Okay, but yeah, no 6,100 combo teams for you.
Oh no, I have them
Oh,
paired
you
on a
do.
couple. I like that build. I think that particularly if you really want to get aggressive up top, large field tournaments. I think obviously in smaller fields and whatnot, that's probably overdoing it. But you can make really good teams, really interesting, builds with those two. And again, you're just asking for made cuts on two guys that easily could be in the upper sixes, lower sevens. So
Love it.
that's where
Man,
I'm
I
at.
shoot for the moon. Let's do it.
Brandon Hagee, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Brandon Hagee's another name I did look at.
I just keep thinking about that final round that he shot. I think it was at the Honda where he was just talking about it. I just like him in as a player, but nothing really shows up that I'm like, I need to get invested there. What's his salary this week? I don't even
He's in
know.
the mid. It's a perfect time. Let's go to our deep dives here
Okay.
as we're at. Yeah, he's in the mid sixes. I don't know. Or he's 62. I'm sorry. So he's really low. I just again, unless you're pivoting off the chalk that is Stanley on a lineup, I don't think it's really necessary unless you specifically like Brandon Hagee in this spot. And to me, I'm kind of indifferent on the play at best.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not really there. He had that one great final round that got him a second at the Honda. That's really kind of what I remember of his year, and that's pretty much the only memorable part of his entire year. As I'm going through it, he's lost strokes gained tee to green just constantly here in the last two. Charles Schwab minus 2.3, PGA minus 7. Also, that golf course, if you weren't hitting it well, you were probably in a lot of trouble as is. So maybe just write that off entirely. He's had some spikes in that at the Valero and at the Wells Fargo where he was hitting it much, much better. And then obviously at the Honda was just phenomenal. But yeah, I could take a shot or two there, but don't make him like a core piece of anything you're doing.
No, certainly not. One thing I wanted to ask you, do you have any interest in some of the Europeans down here? We have Rosner, we have Pat Perez. Yeah, that's it. Victor Perez, Lucas Hebert. We've got some guys who have stayed over. Do you have any interesting guys where we don't have a ton of stats, or are you going to stick to more what you know?
If you can talk me into one of these guys, I don't have a lot here at the moment. Okay, perfect. Then that was the shortest segment we've ever had.
Yeah, I think, listen, once again, it's the same concept. If you have some reason that you are drawn to one of these guys and you have a scenario that you think that they're at an advantage, whether it's being European or something in their game, I personally do not. I think limited experience over here hurts. Most likely, they're overmatched in various degrees. We do only see them with majors and WGC, so I will give them credit there. This is easier than that. I just don't see a reason to do that when I can click in PGA Tour regulars for the same price. Give me Fratelli, give me Mac Hughes, Tom Holt. At least these guys, I have stats and I kind of can grasp how they'll take the course.
Not only that, but like how many times does somebody come over from Europe and dominate? And the one that comes to my mind right off the bat, Brooks Koepka, which is a weird thing to say out loud because he started over in Europe and came over. But a lot of these European guys, it's really tough to get a grasp of who they are until we see. And it takes them a while to get their feet wet. There's nobody who's really hit the ground running coming over from Europe to America. Can you think of anybody? I mean, Noren's close, and we had Tommy Fleetwood, probably the closest thing to it, but
I mean, it happens in spurts. Even for Telly, he won.
Yeah.
EVR at times was okay. Guys come over. It's just, again, usually it takes a little bit. And I don't know. These guys were not prolific winners in Europe either. They're solid players, but EVR and Fratelli were decimating the Euro Tour at points. So
somebody was talking about Charles Schwartzel. I think that's kind of an interesting guy. Missed the cut at the PGA, but up until then was looking really, really nifty. 26th Masters, 21st Valspar, Wells Fargo 14th, third at the Byron Nelson. Played well in that two-man event alongside Wooey because, of course, he did because Louie's awesome. But 11.3 strokes gained total at the Byron Nelson, was gaining strokes with the putter. PGA, if you just write it off, he would be a guy that at 7,400 you would have some interest in, no?
Don't mind it. Again, I don't know how much room I'll have in the low sevens. I'm going to try to pay up to go get like the Grios of the world if I can. But he would be in the bucket with Glover and those guys. Real quick, and this is a good point. Looking at FanDuel, I don't have a ton to say. Like I said, the pricing does kind of correlate. I know we primarily stick to DraftKings, so my apologies on that. But Aaron Wise over there at 87, Kirk, Noren, the same cheapies. Obviously, you're not getting the same situation with them. Usually it is FanDuel that has like these ridiculous, guys, but they went a different route. Stanley and Knox aren't even in the field over there. You can't pick them.
Well,
so that's a bold strategy.
Yeah, that would be, I don't recommend doing that then.
No, I mean, if you can get them, they'll be low owned, but you would have to hack into the system. So you've got that going.
$0.
Yeah, that's a different way to build. Because there's another way to do this, of course, in addition to DFS, you have the betting markets. You have any hot mortal locks for us on the betting card?
Well, yeah, I do. Louis Oosthuizen, just top 5 each way, along with the outright. There was a 50-1 lingering around earlier. I didn't get on it. 45-1. It looks like it's dropped to 40-1. He's basically only plus 250 now to finish a top 10 now at this point in time. I got him at 350, which was nice. That number seems like it's been coming down routinely. It's just terrifying. Griot, of course, I'm betting Griot in the outright markets. Also going to be capitalizing over on that. There's a couple of different books you got to take a look at there. But find the best number. He was kind of coming in around 75. Did you find anything better than 75-1 for him?
For Griot?
Yeah.
There was 80-1 was early in the week. Usti was 55. I was able to grab, me and Josh do a video on Tuesdays where we put out our favorite PGA bets, and you and me and the whole team, obviously our man Jason, Jeff, the whole crew, Max, we do our favorite bets article. Really good read, really fun read, and they were in there as well. So a lot of good opportunities in the betting market. There are numbers and there are value. Obviously, some of them have cratered, but I still think you can look to some. Kyle Stanley was 29-1 for a top 5. I think that's kind of an interesting way. If you don't want to play him, you put a little on that and you're covered if he has an explosive week. And if he plays bad, you're sacrificing a little money on the betting angle, but you're probably ahead on the DFS side. So, yes. Okay. So Stanley is in the pool on FanDuel, 87. Yeah, I wouldn't go there. That's a more appropriate price than what we've seen certainly on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. All right. It's that time, chat. If you haven't hit the like button, it's definitely time to do that. But it's hot take season. You said someone was going to shoot 59 last week. That didn't happen, but that's all right. I said Griot was going to win. That didn't happen either. What say you? Look into your crystal ball and tell me what's going to happen this week.
I'm going to, because you got me into horse betting, like the evil human being that you are. I've got an exacta for you. I got a 1-2. I got an exacta. We are going to go exacta. I have the 2 guys, and it is going like this. It is going Louis Oosthuizen to win. He is finishing first in this golf tournament. He is getting it done, and he's going to win in a playoff against one Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas loses a playoff at Muirfield Village for the second straight year.
You come with things that are I'll give you credit. You only have to get one of these right, literally a century, because that's a pretty penny if you have the old Louis playoff over JT.
You can do it at Schmo Schmata if you want to take a look.
Yeah, you can do some real dangerous things over there. All right, I'm gonna keep it pretty. After that, I have to keep it tame. I'm going to go to my man. I know I get suckered in, and maybe I'm just seeing things with rose-colored glasses and whatnot. I'm going to call that nothing conservative. I think Ricky's going to get in the mix here. I really do. I think that putter can get hot. If it does, the sky's the limit for him. We've seen that. I'm going to piggyback, and you're getting plus 900 for a top 5. I'm not going to say he's going to win or anything, but Ricky at 9-1 to finish in the top 5. I actually kind of like that because, the upside at the PGA was there. It's more, can he avoid the danger? Can he keep it going? Can he sustain it with the putter? We're going to find out. It's not a massive bet, but if you want to look a little against the grain, look for Ricky 9-1 out there in the betting market.
He's gotten in the mix here before. He's no stranger to it. I love it. I'm ready to rock with it. So I'll add that to my card. You can add my exacta. I got that correct, right? That was the correct terminology.
We'll let it slide. I will say if you want more correct terminology, the Belmont Stakes betting video will be out tomorrow, and me and the guy right here will both be in Slack on Saturday, gambling on the ponies. So if you want to have some fun, get inside the ropes at Awesemo Plus. We have weekly packages starting under $10. We've got premium all sports, $29.95. Come on in. It's great. You have FC. You've got so many tools, projections, ownership, and it's just a great community. You're going to have a lot of fun on top of hopefully winning some money. So if you want to have some fun on Saturday, get in there for the Belmont Stakes. Known agenda. You will be crossing that line for 6-1. You can put it on the board, but we're going to have a good old time breaking that down. We're going to get out of here. We got a lot of basketball to watch. Hopefully the Knicks are doing good. I'm sure they're not. But on that note, thanks, Jordan, behind the glass chat. Thanks to you guys. Let's keep it rolling. We saw some good takedowns last week, and we're going to try to do that again. Good luck, everyone, and we will, of course, be back same time, same place next Wednesday. Why, Knicks? Why?
Let's go, Clippers.
I don't understand.